Hello and welcome to another episode of In the Art Studio with me, Miss Lundgren. I'm your host today. I thank you for stopping by in my virtual art studio. I have a special book to share with you today. It's a story about an artist that I think is one of the most dynamic living artists today. She has led such an inspiring life, breaking all the rules, thinking outside of the box, listening to her own drum that she beats, and I'm excited to share the story with you. It's interesting, before I tell you who it is, I'll give you a hint. I received this postcard in the mail today. Oddly enough, the same day that I borrowed a book from our school, and it's by the artist Yayoi Kusama. One of our fantastic students at Montlake sent this to me, and if you see, it matches my shirt that I bought in the gift shop. This is the work of Yayoi Kusama, and this is a hologram postcard, which means when you move it like this, it changes. Yayoi had a huge art show at the Seattle Art Museum, and if you're lucky enough to have gotten a ticket, because it was sold out for almost a year, you might have been inside of one of her infinity rooms that was filled with glass pumpkins and mirrors. So you got to walk through this. It was about the size of a small bedroom, and it had lights and mirrors, looking at mirrors, looking at mirrors, looking at mirrors. And that's why it's called an infinity room, because it keeps going and going and going and going. And at the Seattle Art Museum, they only let about 3 or 4 people in, and you got to walk down like a walkway with all of these beautiful glass pumpkins. I want to thank the person that sent this to me. I love it. The book we're going to read today is brand new from the library at school. It's called Yayoi Kusama, From Here to Infinity. What does infinity mean? It means going on forever and ever and ever. It means no end. And I think that kind of speaks to her mirror rooms. If you've ever been in your bathroom and seen a mirror in your bathroom and then another mirror next to it, and it just keeps going and going, it's kind of a cool optical illusion. This story is written by Sarah Suzuki, and it's illustrated by Ellen Weinstein. And I think you are going to love the illustrations. And we'll read this and then hopefully find some inspiration in the world of polka dots and do an art project after, okay? So let's get started. Let's dive in to the wonderful world of Yayoi, beginning in the country of Japan. Yayoi Kusama was born in the country of Japan on the island of Honshu in a town called Matsumoto City. An old palace made of wood and stone overlooked a moat where swans swam. The streets were lined with little shops, and snow-capped mountains rose in the distance, swallowing up the sun as it went down in the evening. Yayoi's family owned nurseries where all kinds of flowers and vegetables grew, and workers tended the plants as they matured from seeds to sprouts to stalks. But Yayoi yearned for a different life, far from the countryside. She dreamed about what lay beyond the mountains, in places far from Matsumoto City. She longed to leave home and see the world. Yayoi's mother wanted her to stay home and learn old-fashioned manners, how to dress elegantly, walk demurely, eat politely, and find a proper husband. But Yayoi wanted to be an artist. Every day she went outside with ink and brushes and paper. She drew things she saw and things she imagined. She looked closely at the pebbles that lined the riverbed and at the leaves and the stalks of plants, and she drew them as chains of tiny cells that looked like dots. When she was older and studying in art school, her teachers disapproved of her work, and they demanded that Yayoi paint in the traditional, precise Japanese style. She wanted to go where she could live without rules. When she was 28 years old, she packed up her silk kimonos and thousands of drawings and stuffed dollar bills into the toes of her shoes. It was her first airplane trip. There were only 4 other passengers, and the weather was stormy with rain and lightning. The airplane wobbled and dipped as it flew to America. In New York, Yayoi went to the top of the Empire State Building, the tallest building in a city full of tall buildings. When she looked down, she saw buses and cars and yellow taxis zooming up and down the avenues, and bankers and teachers and artists rushing to work. From up on the 86th floor, they looked like dots. She felt very far from quiet Matsumoto City and her mother's rules. Here, it seemed, anything was possible. Yayoi set about turning her drawings of dots into paintings. The dollar bills that she had brought to America quickly ran out, and she spent what little money she had left on paints and canvases. She worked day and night. She painted when she was cold, she painted when she was hungry, and she painted when she was lonely. And she turned her dots into sculptures too, into soft, stuffed tubes that covered sofas and chairs and boats. She was devoted to her dots. For her, they were a way of thinking about the world among the stars as one dot among millions of others. They were a way of thinking about infinity. Sometimes, when she grew frustrated, she visited the Museum of Modern Art. She gazed at paintings by other artists, and she thought about why and how they were made. She looked at pictures of dancing girls and swirling night skies, trying to solve them as if they were puzzles. Her paintings seemed so different from those she had seen at MoMA. When she at last was ready to show her work in public, she invited all the friends she had made in New York. When she arrived at the gallery, a crowd was spilling out onto the sidewalk. Her friends lifted her into the air, shouting, "Yayoi, you've finally done it." Word about her artwork spread quickly. Her friends told their friends, newspapers wrote about her work, and reporters clamored to interview her about her dots. Now she began to show them in other cities all over the United States and Europe. Her dots were covering the world. They appeared in Venice in thousands of dot-shaped mirrors scattered over a big green lawn. On a pumpkin on a pier. On dresses and t-shirts, on people walking down the street, and in mirrored rooms where glowing dots were reflected and reflected again, an infinity of dots. Having visited many countries all over the world, Yayoi returned to Japan. The country had changed since she left, with many different artists challenging the old traditional style, as Yayoi had been doing all along. Yayoi still lives in Japan, and she continues to paint her dots every day. The infinity mirrored room, the souls of millions of light years away. 2013. This is a photograph of one of her mirrored rooms. So you can see mirrors, looking at mirrors, looking at mirrors, looking at mirrors, looking at mirrors. Infinity. It goes on forever. The Obliteration Room, 2002 to present. This is a room that traveled around in her exhibit. It began at the museum as just a white room, and visitors to the museum were given stickers. And you could put the stickers down anywhere in this room that you wanted. You could make a pattern or a design, or you could just do it randomly. If you went to the exhibit, you might have gotten to put down some stickers. Wouldn't that be fun to do to your bedroom? Kusama, now 88 years old, still goes to her studio and makes art every day. Millions of people all over the world in North and South America, Europe and Asia visit her exhibitions and share photos of her work on the internet. The end. Or is it the beginning? It could be infinite.